What if the very thing you're avoiding, stillness, is the doorway to your deepest healing? Today's guest, Kyla, spent over a decade avoiding the pain of losing her mom at 20. She ran, she achieved, she pushed, but it wasn't until she stopped and she said yes to healing that everything unraveled, everything started to change. Before we dive into Kyla's powerful story and her human design chart, which is amazing, I want you to have a moment where you can invest in your peace. So we're going to just take 2 minutes, and I know that you're doing things like walking or multitasking, working on your company and your business, helping out with the kids, whatever it is, but just take a moment and let's invest in your peace for 2 minutes. If you're in a seated position, you can close your eyes. If not, just keep doing what you're doing. And I want you to take a slow breath in through your nose. And exhale like you're letting go of the weight of the day. Now imagine yourself in a room. It's quiet, soft, and warm. But there are things around you. There are piles. Piles of to-dos, piles of appointments, piles of other people's expectations, piles of the pressure that you put on yourself. You start to move from pile to pile. You're so busy, but you notice you haven't stopped to breathe. In the corner of the room is a chair. It's empty. And behind the chair is a window full of light. Feel that light coming into your body. Feel it bring you joy and peace. Now picture yourself walking to the chair, walking to that light. Sit down and let the piles be just there. It's okay, you don't have to fix any of those. You can just breathe. Take a deep breath and exhale. Another deep breath, bringing in softness and love into your soul. You can rub your fingertips together slowly, tapping into your body even more. And ask yourself, what have I been avoiding by staying busy? What have you been avoiding? Now ask yourself, what can you do to support yourself to really go through that thing, to really face that? Do you need to reach out to a friend? Do you need to go on walks more? To get back to journaling? Give yourself more empathy and love. What's the one thing you need to do to support yourself? Take another deep breath. And remember that stillness makes space for truth. And when you're ready, if you can open your eye. Good job. Good job for investing in your peace and investing in you. I'm so excited to dive in today's episode. Kyla, when we met, I was just like, we are meant to be friends. She talked about her mom passing away and how this was the catalyst for jumping into figuring things out, staying busy, all the things. But underneath, she was running from the pain and the loss of her mom. And I was telling her about when I lost my mom, and it was sudden. No one had ever thought this was going to happen. My mom was 60. My dad's a doctor. And so there was no sign of something wrong. And at this level, and I remember getting a call, and my dad was like, "Hey, your mom, she stopped breathing. I tried to resuscitate her, took her to the hospital, all these things." And I was like, what is going on? And then I remember exactly sitting up in bed because it was the middle of the night and I was in complete shock. And then I got a call from my brother and he's like, "She passed away." And I just remember how horrible that feeling was, because no matter how old you were, and what was I, 35? Our youngest was 4 or 5. Yeah, he was 4. It was 34, something like that. Anyway, and the pain and the suffering. And so we all went up to Portland to help out and to get things ready and to prepare and all these things. And I was so busy helping my dad, helping with funeral plans, helping my siblings, helping my husband and my children. And when I stayed up there for a little while, and when I finally came back after helping out all the siblings, we kind of took turns staying with him for a little while. And when I came back from my turn, I remember I was talking to my neighbor, and my neighbor was telling me, she's like, her dad had passed away a year before. And she's like, "You can either push the pain away and heal later, because you're going to have to heal sometime, or you can dive in and heal the pain right now." And I chose to dive in and heal the pain. But you guys, I did not do a good job. Let's be honest. I didn't seek therapy. I didn't seek help. I talked to some friends. I still worked out and stuff like that. But I remember Scott saying, he's like, "I love you so much and I know the pain of this." But he's like, "I lost part of you during this time too." And I just could have worked through the grief so much better. And I loved Kyla's story about how busyness, what we do, what the patterns we get into to protect ourselves, keeps us safe, but it doesn't keep us healed. So Kyla Gagnon is a somatic breathwork facilitator and embodiment and empowerment coach. She's a retreat host, the host of Reclaimed, a podcast dedicated to supporting women in reclaiming their power, their purpose, they're meant to do. She is the founder of Breath with Kyla, a somatic and breathwork membership for women, a creator and a facilitator of the School of Breathwork Medicine, a breathwork and somatic teacher training program. I can't wait to see you in this episode. I can't wait to have this healing moment and dive into her human design chart and how that is helping her and to be even more aligned and in tune with her truth. All right, I'll see you inside the episode. Kyla, thank you so much for being on the show today. I'm so excited you're here.
Yeah, thank you so much. It's fun to be here.
It's so great. Can you take us back to losing your mom and how that shaped you?
Yeah. So I was 19 and she was diagnosed with brain cancer. And she was a nurse. So I have to think that she must have known the details, but she went into a bit of a denial and didn't really want to know. She didn't want to know a date. She didn't want to know how long she had. She was really adamant that nobody talked about that. So we had a family meeting with the doctor and he was giving us all sorts of information except for her, prognosis of life expectancy. And so everyone left the room and I'd quit my job. The day I found out she was sick, I quit my job and I just sort of expected that I would just tend to her. And so I walked back into the doctor's office and I said, "Hey, I know she doesn't want to know, but I'm tending to her. So I would like to, somebody has to know what's going on here." And he said, "If 100 people have what your mom have, 50 will die in 3 months and the other 50 will die very shortly after."
Oh my goodness.
And so I walked out of the room and it's interesting. I just the other day was talking to my partner about this and I said, I didn't tell anyone. So I was given this information, this like really intense information that I then didn't share. I just held it. And then lived in this knowing that I was going to lose her really quickly. And sure enough, it was 2 weeks after my 20th birthday. And yeah, she died almost exactly 3 months after diagnosis.
Oh my goodness.
And so I was barely 20. I went from living in the house, having everything taken care of for me. I lived with my mom and my stepdad, well, they weren't married actually, but together for 12 years. And a whole other long tangent story there that we don't need to go into, but I needed to leave. I wasn't invited to live there anymore, and I needed to leave. And so I found a place and got another job so that I could actually now pay for rent, hydro, food, phone bill, gas, car, like everything. Like overnight. My mom didn't have a will, so I was just really really left to figure it out, which put me in, a state of figure it out, a state of survival, a state of like, pull it all together. We got something to do and let's go do it. Although that got me through, it actually has been a big piece of work that I've had to do now in my later life to sort of take off that mask and that way of being that's just constant survival, go, go, go. I spent about 16 years doing that. And here's I didn't ask for help once. I didn't go to therapy. I didn't ask my family for financial support or anything. I just didn't. And I don't know why. I don't remember my family ever making it out to be that I couldn't ask for help. I don't really know where this story came from that I needed to hunker down and do it all myself. My dad was in my life, very present. I never asked him for anything. And I have a bit of what I think is almost amnesia. I don't even remember if anyone asked me if I needed help. I've just blocked it out. I just know that I did things on my own. And that really looked like, it looked like a lot of things. But what I see now on the other side of it, because like I say, that was 16 years of living like that. It was at that 16-year mark that I found the work that I'm doing now that I'm sure maybe I can tie that in. And it changed everything for me. But when I could then look back on what I did in those 15, 16 years is I kept myself incredibly busy, very busy, so busy. Not a spare moment in my calendar. I don't know how many times I would have family or friends say, "Hey, I know you're really busy, but I'd love to see you." And I would look at my calendar and I would say, well, maybe I could do coffee between this time and this time, 3 or 4 weeks from now. I just didn't have space. I filled it with work. I filled it with anything, activities. I dated people. I found myself in relationships that both romantic and platonic and even work where I was not being treated quite the way I desired. And what I reflect on now is because my heart was so cracked open and broken with the loss of my mom, and I didn't properly process it or have any support in that. I don't even know that I closed my heart, but I definitely went into protection. And so I wouldn't let people into my life that I actually thought could penetrate my heart, that I could actually open up and love. Because if I opened up and really loved this person and let them really love me, then I was also opening up to the grief that I was kind of refusing to look at. And so I kept myself really protected in that way. Even though it didn't feel great, I think it felt better. At least there was a part of me that knew it felt better than going into the grief. And so I kept myself busy with crap relationships. I kept myself busy with work that wasn't really giving much back to me. And all of that was out of fear of actually looking and being with the grief. And so if you fast forward 16 years, and at that point I'd built a personal training business. I worked in fitness. I had a really fun life. I also filled it with lots of fun, and look at how shiny and good this is, and look at how happy I am, and look at how good I'm doing. And underneath all of that actually was this really, really sad, scared young girl.
Yeah.
And
well, and I look at those what are interferences to success and to happiness. And it is that busyness. It is that, overachieving, and especially as a generator, and we'll get into your human design, but that's one of the things that generators struggle with is keeping themselves so busy, so overworked that oftentimes we don't have time to feel, and we make that a point. That's the point, that there's not time to feel. I look at when we were talking before about my mom also passed away, and our similar experience in that, and how I was thinking the same thing. I did not give myself the support that I needed. I did not seek therapy. I did not seek opening up with things. I thought if I just keep myself busy enough, I won't have to feel. And sometimes that numbness feels better than going through the pain of it all.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Were you consciously doing that, or do you think it was subconscious? Like, were you aware that you were doing it?
No, I think I was just like, it was a coping mechanism, just a protection, or what I thought was a protection, but was really messed up.
Yeah. Yeah. Super messed up. That's exactly it. Wow. Yeah. And I've continued to do that in various ways in my life, keep myself very busy, of course.
Yeah. And so when you, part of your story is going to your first breathwork class, and like, can you tell us about that?
Yeah. So I was working in fitness for 15 years, 16 years at this point. Loved it, was good at it, all the things, had a shiny life, was working with magazines, had like 5 magazine covers. I was living my like 19-year-old's dream life, because I just loved everything about the fitness world. I was doing it all and feeling still quite empty. Like, it was very surface level. I was really craving this something deeper. And conversations with clients was always just about their physical body. And I thought, no, it's deeper than that. But I didn't know what that meant. And so I was invited to a breathwork session. I didn't know what that was, so I didn't go.
Yes.
And I didn't ask. And this woman kept inviting me. She kept inviting me. And I was teaching yoga at the time. So then I started to think, well, I think I'm already doing that in yoga. I don't need that. And kept avoiding this class. And eventually I went to this breathwork class. And it's conscious connected breathwork. Anyone listening who might know what that is, it's very different than what we're doing in yoga classes. And it was about a 90-minute class. Maybe we were there for 2 hours and we were breathing for probably 45 or 50 minutes. And immediately I knew, okay, this is different. And what happened in that class is so the breath is through an open mouth. It's a really beautiful, like, full inhale, surrendered exhale. It's this big, beautiful breath. And just cliff notes on it. It helps you meet the subconscious parts of your body. It helps you meet the places that we store all of our pieces that we don't want to look at, our old thoughts, our fears, our wounds, our traumas, our beliefs, our patterns, everything we've experienced gets stored in our subconscious. It lives in our cells. It gets passed in through, genetics. And anyway, so we're touching in on some tender parts, and a way to move the energy is actually to physically move and shake. And so we're breathing, and she asked us to start shaking our hands. So I was shaking my hands, and that felt really good. And we're shaking and we're breathing. And then she said, I want you to open your mouth more and make the sound. And that's another way to move energy, and just to help the emotions and the energy move is actually through sound. Well, the room started to make sound, and I absolutely froze up. My body locked up. I froze up completely. I couldn't make sound. And I felt so many feelings about it. I felt angry at myself. I felt disappointed. I felt confused. It was mostly anger, disappointment, and embarrassment, because everyone else is doing this. Why can't I? And so this started to spiral my thoughts of, have I ever felt comfortable speaking up, using my voice? Have I ever known women in my life to speak up and use their voice? And then I started to think of how many women in my family that I knew of and that I didn't know of had their voices taken from them in whatever way that would be. And then I started to think about the women globally. And then I just started to get really angry at how many women, and I acknowledge it's just humans, but in this moment for me, it was how many women have had their voices silenced. And the whole room is still making sound, and everyone's still doing their thing, and they're having emotional releases, and I am frozen, stuck. And eventually, finally, after what felt like an hour, was probably 60 seconds, she invited everyone to stop making noise and just come back to their breath. And it was in that moment that I let out the tiniest little squeak. It was like my voice finally was like, I exist too. It was this tiny squeak. And then I just sobbed. And it felt as though in that moment, like there was this visceral knowing in my body that whatever that pattern was in my family lineage, that women don't speak up, or women don't even acknowledge that they have a voice or ideas or thoughts or needs or desires or fears or stories, or that stops with me. Like it stops right now. And so in that, there was excitement and pride, but there was grief for all of the times that we didn't use our voice. There were so many feelings, but it felt overall incredibly powerful. It was like, it stops here and I get to create. I have goosebumps. I get goosebumps every time I tell this story. It was so impactful. So anyway, and then the breath kept going on, and there was other emotions that came through, and there was so much that came through, but that was enough for me. I left her session, everyone's leaving the room, and she was my acupuncturist, so I knew her quite well. And I just grabbed her arms and I said, who is your teacher and how do I do this? it was like I knew this was the moreness, the depth that I'd been looking for, that I wasn't getting in fitness or in my life. And what I also realized is that I thought I was craving depth in other people. I was craving depth in myself because I had blocked so much of myself with that loss of my mom, that there was so much of me that I hadn't met. I was craving knowing myself. And so I left her session. I looked her teacher up online. He was coming to my city 3 months later to run a level 1 training, and I booked it. I ran through that first training. It was just a short weekend, and it was sort of an intro. And then I began to burn my business to the ground, and then COVID. And then I didn't work anyway, and I just had all this time to study and learn. And then, here we are, five years later, and it's all I do. And I can't even remember life before, but this has unlocked so many layers of healing for me. And it wasn't until I was able to access these deeper layers that I was able to start grieving my mom 16 years later.
Wow. And I was just thinking, so many women have this sabotaging character of silencing their voice. It's really that silencer is what interferes with peace and success.
Absolutely.
And I was just thinking, the breath work actually gives them back that power in a way that's their own, right?
Yeah. Well, and that's what came out of it is I said, okay, whatever I was doing before, I know I was helping people in their health and wellness. I now have a mission to help women reclaim their power. Like that's where my podcast came from. It's where my work came from. And I don't mean, power can have such a icky tone to it, depending on who we think of as in roles of power. Power is knowing yourself. Power is knowing your truth, connecting with your truth, trusting your intuition, having a voice, having ideas, speaking it into the world, acting from a place of love, speaking from a place of love, being whole and true and holy. That is power. It is not saying, yeah, sure, because you don't want them to question your feelings, or nodding and smiling, or just going with whatever the world is doing. If you have a different thought, if you have a different feeling, that is your power. But we've just been so disconnected from it for like centuries. And so, coming back to your body through breath, through dance, through prayer, through movement, there's just so many ways to come home. My way is it's all of those actually, but also like breath work. That is the modality I'm choosing because it's right there. It's right there.
It's your truth. It's access to your inner wisdom and to your inner knowledge.
Yeah.
Was it scary to burn your business down? Because a lot of women come to a point where they're like, wait a second. I came to that point too. I came into this and I was like, oh, I'm going to coach women about social media and all those things. And then when I found human design and it found me, I was like, forget this, But was that scary to like...
Yeah, well, yes and no. Oh, it was, the timing just couldn't have been more perfect. It was like just the start of COVID. I couldn't train clients in gyms. I couldn't. It was like God was like, here you go. Now or never. You can do it? Yeah. And I just didn't have another choice. It was perfectly timed. I don't know how it would have gone if there wasn't a pandemic. If I still could have easily worked and continued to bring money in that way, I can't tell you. I do not know. I don't know. I think it would have been really scary. But if this felt like I didn't have another option, now that can also come in various ways. It doesn't have to be a pandemic for you to feel like I don't have another option. If you're miserable, you don't have another option.
Yes. Well, and that ties so well into your human design. So in human design, there's human design types, and that's kind of the first layer where we start. And you're a generator. And generators, their specific way of pivoting is to move to what's lighting them up, to move to this responsive, like sparkly feeling within you. And when you were talking about the breath work, I could feel that sparkle. I could feel that joy coming from you because your mantra is, I am designed to build a joyful life by responding to what lights me up. That sparkly feeling. And that's what sustains all your energy. So as a generator, you have lots and lots of energy. That's another one of your gifts, is to have all this energy. But when you're chasing things out of fear or duty, or you get burnt out. and your energy gets stuck. When you're responding to life and business from a place of joy, your work becomes magnetic. And the growth of your business happens when you respond to that juicy lit up feeling. And you're not here to push, you're here to wait for that spark and then step into it with that full power, which is what you're doing. And can you feel the difference? Because as a generator, one thing is you're really good at working. You're really good at doing lots of things. You can have a whole list of things and you can just nail it every time. But you are still a human being. You're not a robot, you know? So you do need to sleep. You do need to have time to play and stuff like that. But can you feel the difference in your energy when you are working on what's lighting you up versus what is being forced?
Oh, absolutely. I've caught myself working towards a thing that I think I'm supposed to be working at. Yeah. And I'm like, this isn't working. And it never works because it's not even the direction you're supposed to be going. And as soon as I give myself space to actually tune into what I want to be doing, like really actually, it's completely different. Generally at that point, work just like flows in. And all of a sudden there's opportunities around me.
Yeah. And like when you added retreats and things like that to it, did you feel that same feeling of like, oh, this is it, you know?
I love retreats. And I started retreats when I was in fitness. I was running fitness and yoga retreats in Bali and Greece. And I was like, this is it. If I could run retreats all year, that's what I would do. I would do this. And I still feel that. I would, if I could run breathwork and transformation retreats all year, or enough in a year that I didn't have to do anything else, I would do that in an absolute heartbeat.
Oh, that's so beautiful. And that passion for that connection, that deep connection and being right there with people. That's again, that pathway is so beautiful to find and to follow. And a lot of times like people get so in their head and they're like, well, I should do this or I should do it like this. And it's not like about the shoulds. It's about the feeling inside of you and trusting in that feeling. And has that feeling always led you in the way that you needed to go?
Well, I would say yes, even if my path swerved a little bit. I'm the believer that everything is exactly the way it's supposed to be, at least in general, like actually the whole path, even if you take the left path when the right would have been easier, let's say, the left path offered you all the lessons, all of the opportunities, all of the extra wisdom that you maybe wouldn't have received on the right path. And so, yes, I think everything I have done has always been correct for me.
Yeah, I feel the same way too, that there's nothing that we're going to miss because we look like we chose another way. I feel like all the learning comes in those moments of what seems like a detour, but is actually what we pick up on learnings from and stuff. So as a generator, you have this go, go, go energy, and that is a superpower of yours. Now with go, go, go energy and doing lots of things, the flip side of that is burnout and fatigue and not listening to taking care of yourself or feeling like you don't need to or just keep going. Have you fought this like battle of burnout throughout your life?
I would say yes, but I think that I would have called it something else. I don't know that I would have wanted to admit maybe because that would have felt like failure as a generator. Can't I just keep going all the time? But yeah, for me, it shows up in my mood. Like I'm short, I'm unhappy, I might be complaining more, I might be coming from more fear energy, but I never quit. Actually, as I think about it, I don't ever stop. I'll just almost try harder because I'm like, why isn't this working? It's because I'm hitting burnout. It's not what it's not where I should be spending my energy. But there's this part of me that doesn't want to, I don't know, because I guess there's a subconscious part of me that doesn't want to fail. But then consciously, I'm like, there's no such thing. Failing is great. There's so many lessons in that.
Yeah.
Anyway, my mind. But yes, I have experienced burnout. It just doesn't come. I haven't hit the point where I like stop and just can't do anything. I keep going and I'm just a really crabby version of myself.
Well, and that's a really good thing to look at because one of your signs that something is off in your human design is this feeling of frustration. And so it's called your not self theme. And it's this frustration of the circumstance, things that you're going through, whatever that is. And that frustration can look like different things. It can look like edgy. It can look like not feeling like yourself, coming from like different energy. And you're so in tune with your energy. You can feel it so quick. But
Mhm.
what's cool about it is it gives us an ability to say, wait a second, I'm feeling this way. Something is off. What do I need to do to change? What do I need to do to change? What do I need to do to support myself more? What do I need to fix and resolve or whatever, you know? And so like that feeling is really actually a good thing instead of something that's like, that's a failure. You know, it's a sign that's like, hey, what can I do with this? Have you felt like that frustration in different points within your
Yes.
journey?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yes. All signs point to yes.
Yes. So what do you do to take care of yourself in those moments of frustration? Because that generator energy is like, we're going, we're doing all these things. But part of really working through emotional or physical pain is to slow down. And that can be challenging for a generator. So what do you do to help yourself to down?
So that's been such a journey for me. I'm pretty sure this life's lesson, my overarching lesson in this life is to slow down. And I will say, I will pat myself on the back. The last, where are we? We're June. Honestly, the last 6, 8 months, I have been so slow. I have been, I don't want to say barely working, but I used to just sit at my desk and work on like nothing that's even, I could be spending hours making Canva graphics, like nothing actually like building my business, but I would be doing something. So I would be busy working. Now, like I might work at my computer for a couple of hours a day, but I'll go on a couple dog walks. I'll lay in the sun on the deck. I don't know. I took a nap yesterday, which was a Monday. It's fascinating.
Amazing.
A nap on a Monday. So I am moving a lot slower, and there's a lot of trust that's having to come in on that because full honesty, like business it's just in a funny space. And so rather than panicking, I have to just really believe that it's not a halt. It's a transition. It's like the pendulum is swinging, and it's just in this funny, like teeter-totter space because the energy that I was bringing into my work, it was a little bit too forceful. It was like, this has to work. Yes. This has to work.
Yes.
And I'm just coming into a lot of clarity around how I best serve my work. And it isn't in the way I've been trying to do it. And so I've been giving myself a lot of space, and it's oddly easier than maybe it would have been previously. It feels there's something has shifted. Maybe it's just my age. I don't know. But I'm really allowing myself the slowness without having panic. And that's the difference. The slowness before would have instilled panic or stress or fear or, yeah.
Yeah, that's so beautiful. And that is really goes into the next part of your human design. On your chart, there's a profile, and a profile is made up of 2 numbers, a 6-3. I'm a 6-3 too. I'm like,
of course you are.
I love it. It's so exciting. And this mantra is, I lead with wisdom earned through trial and truth. You are wise to life, and you look inside of yourself for the answers. Others see you as a role model, and you get to see yourself in this way too. You experience things, and you get to kind of experiment with things through experiences, through playing around, through jumping in with both feet. And so nothing is failure because it's all figuring out what works and what doesn't. I love what you said about your story. You're like, I'm just going to figure out how to live on my own and like support myself. I'm like, okay, 20-year-old, you know, like,
right.
Seriously. And part of this process is dropping perfectionism and embracing that messy middle in your journey. How has that been hard to embrace those imperfections?
Oh gosh, there's definitely been phases where yes, it has. And I think like part of that 20-year-old able to do all of the things is I was hyper independent as a little girl, which has its own story and reasoning. And, you know, a kid shouldn't have to be hyper independent, but I was. Because of that, I think and maybe, yeah, I guess it's a little perfectionism, wanting people to see that like, I can do this and I don't need anything. And in that, there's a sense of perfectionism. With my work, I don't so much feel that. I feel like my work now that I'm in alignment with what I truly believe I should be doing, I'm here to do this work. I just show up as me, and I am super flawed and I am an open book with my clients and I am in the muck with them because I am still human. And so I don't feel the need to come in as perfect at all with my work. And that feels really sweet. And as I say this out loud, I believe that that's because this is exactly on path. And I think anything that maybe we do that isn't fully, or for me, anything that I do that isn't fully on my path, that would be where the perfectionism might sneak in because I want people to think that like, oh, this is also what she's really good at. But it's like, no. I don't even need to worry about that. This is my medicine. This is my magic. This is my home. And I can show up so flawed in it and feel so good.
And I think that flawed, being able to give ourselves permission to come to whatever scenario, work, personal, professional, whatever it is, and be flawed and show people that. I think that's what really connects us together. I was thinking about when we met and it was just like opening up and sharing with each other the struggles that we're going through in such a freeing way. And it is, I'm like, it's so beautiful to be free from feeling like perfectionism is the ideal and really being flawed is the ideal because we're all flawed.
Yep.
And it helps us so much. Well, in your human design chart, this other part that is so beautiful is your root center. Now, when we're looking at the chart and we're seeing all these on the body graph side, we see all these centers. They're either colored in white or they're colored in green. The ones that are colored in green are gifts that you have all the time. These are gifts that are going to back you up no matter what. Gifts that you were born with and you get to utilize. And your root center, which is at the bottom of the chart, colored in green, is your drive center. And this carries drive forward. You can move through mountains. The phrase, "you're crushing it," is like so on point for you, you know? You leaning into these breakthroughs because you're always going to achieve your goals. You're always going to achieve that next level. And can you tell when pressure turns into this motivating feeling, you know, instead of overwhelm?
Can I tell when pressure turns into motivation versus overwhelm? That might be one that I'm stuck on. I don't know that I don't know that I can easily feel overwhelmed. Is that true? Can I easily feel overwhelmed? I think I can easily feel overwhelmed. And it's interesting because that doesn't stop me, but I don't think that I feel it as motivating.
Yeah. Well, and that's with human design, what it does to the brain, because we're human, right? We're going to get these thoughts of like when we're up against a big goal or we're up against a dream or whatever it is, you know, whatever that pressure point is. And we return to, you know what, this is the pathway I'm going to go down. I think about, I'm going to be launching an app that integrates human design and interference and all these abilities to have peace into our life. And I was thinking about the other day and I was like, what am I doing? I should just go work at Target. Why do I want to do this to myself, you know? Because I know how much work it is. And then I start to feel this resistance to it. And what, with human design and what your gift here is you're going to have the drive to be able to get to the other side. You have this mountain to walk up to, but it's actually going to be a beautiful journey. You have this goal that you're going to crush and you're going to do it. So it changes our direction of our mind and gives us support to say, wait a second, I know I felt these goals in my gut or my intuition, whatever it is. And my mind is telling me other things because it's trying to keep us safe. But my human design is saying, I can do this. I can lean into this. I got this. And it takes that overwhelm to a place that it's not as harmful, you know, like, I mean, we're still going to be human. So, you know, I still think about my app and I'm like, oh my gosh, but we got this. Let's play around and have fun. And that's what I thought too with my profile. I'm like, just play with it. Just have fun. Just enjoy the process, you know? Yeah. And so these things that can transform our mind from one thing to the next. What do you think about that?
That feels good. And it's funny, I can really, when you say like transform from one thing to the next, my mind is really good at seeing that and supporting others in that, but I can get stuck in my own personal stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, it does. I know. And it's, and the other thing with human design, that transformation piece that I love is that human design is based on our time, date, and place of birth. This is how we were born. And when my mind thinks about it like that, I'm like, wait a second, I was born with this gift. It's not something I didn't take a test and answer questions. I'm not trying to circle around things. This is how I was born. So how can I just enjoy it and lean into it is really beautiful. And then this other channel that stood out to me on your human design chart that is just jumped right out to me. A channel is when we're looking at that body graph, there's these lines going from center, green centers, and they connect kind of like a roadmap. And so you have channel 1034, and this mantra is, my charisma powerfully attracts and affects others with light and love. And I know.
Nice. So nice. Like a big hug.
Seriously. And I was like, that is so Kyla. And again, I like when I was looking at your chart, like these things just stand out to me. I don't have all this memorized. So it was just so beautiful. And you really are this inspiring person to others with light and love. That's how you inspire people, is with this embodied influence. And you teach others what is possible when you move into this alignment, when you move into flow, when you move into really, truly loving yourself. And finding that support. And when have you felt this flow in your life? When have you felt this?
I feel that really, really presently with my work. I feel it when I hold breath ceremonies. I feel it in retreat. I feel it just even within my breath membership. Anytime I get to communicate and connect with women, that's often the feedback. And it feels so sweet to hear that. And my partner and I were talking about this. It's not from a place of ego, because there's such a feeling in me that like, it's not me. Like I'm just I'm like the middleman. I'm the conduit, but it's just it gets to come through me. And so that feels really true. And I feel that a lot right now in my life. And I've actually, from the beginning of this work, which was sort of, just really great reminders that this is correct. This is the exact right path. Yeah. So that feels really sweet to have you to bring that up. Feels true.
Yeah, it feels true. I love that. And it does feel true. As I was saying it, and I was like, this is so Kyla, like to show up for a lighthouse. Really, you're this lighthouse for others.
I have a card right behind. I can't reach it because my arm's not long enough, but I had a brand new client, give me a card, and there's it's just a lighthouse, and it just says like this thank you card. It's this beautiful blue card. It's like hand painted and just this lighthouse. I can see it. It's just behind you.
Oh my goodness, that's so beautiful. Oh, I love that.
Yeah.
Oh, well, one other part that stood out to me on your chart is another channel, another one of those road lines. And this mantra is, I deeply love to nurture others. And this is channel 2750. And you have this distinct instinct to care and protect others. You're designed to create systems of support, emotional, physical, practical, all the things to help heal and guide others. And what a beautiful gift that you give to others. Now, on the flip side of all this caring and being this lighthouse and caring for others can be this overgiving, right? Can be giving so much. Have you had a hard time with overgiving, or has this been a struggle?
You can see my eyes. They're like, yeah. I'm going to say yes. And it doesn't, at no point is it the giving that feels challenging, or I don't regret any of it, but what comes of it is just a lack of giving to self. And I've had so many times people were like, are you taking care of yourself? Like you're serving a lot of people, you're holding a lot of people through a lot of big stuff, but what about you? And I'm like, oh yeah, I know I need to. And then I don't. I'm getting better at it.
Yeah. What it is, and it is hard especially for generators who are just like on it all the time to really pour back into themselves. And with all these gifts of loving and serving and shining and being a lighthouse to others, what type of things, because I know my audience has the same challenge, what types of things do you do to pour into yourself?
Okay. So I just wrote a list the other day, and I shared this with a client yesterday. I was like, write yourself a list of just things that you enjoy, things that bring you peace, happiness, excitement, whatever. So my list was body work, so massage, facials, reflexol, anything, just having someone touch my body. We have these really beautiful gardens here. There's a place called Butchart Gardens. It's like world famous. People, okay.
I've been there. Yes.
Oh my gosh. Okay. Okay. So going to Butchart Garden is on my list. There's a couple cafes that have just like the most beautiful experience. They're on my list. Coloring, dancing, going for walks in very specific places, like things that actually bring me joy, talking to specific friends. So having a list of things that just bring you happiness, bring you peace, bring you excitement, bring you joy, bring you gratitude, big long laundry list. Might be snuggling with my puppy, might be smelling my baby's feet, like whatever it is. And in those moments of, like, for me, it would be frustration, I guess, when I'm feeling frustrated, that would be my cue to like go look at the list and what can I do that's on this list right now? Or today, what can I do? Or even can I book this tomorrow? Like, what can I do on this list to pour back in? Even if it's like just sitting in the grass, just sitting in your yard, laying on your back and looking up at the sky and the clouds, like whatever it is.
Oh my goodness. I love that. I love that. And it's such a good resource. I just wrote that down for myself. That is amazing.
Because we forget, like
Yes.
all of those things are available to me, but it can be so easy in a moment of frustration or overwhelm to just like sit on the couch or stomp around or dive deeper into work. And it's like, no. There's a whole list of things that I love to do and they're all available. Some of them might require booking an appointment, but some of them are also just readily available.
Just right there. Yeah, totally. Oh, I'm going to totally use that. That's amazing.
Yep. Good.
Well, Kyla, this has been so beautiful. So amazing to have you on. I know we are, I was on your podcast and we're like,
we're swapping.
And these are dropping on the same day.
Yeah.
So we're going to have your podcast in the show notes so people can jump onto that. Can you tell us how else people can get into your world? Because they need to be friends with you. They need to jump into your world.
Come be in my world. Come be my friend. Most active on Instagram, which is breathwork with Kyla. And my website is, as I do my very darndest to have it updated with all of the good things. And that's just kylagagnon.com. I would say Instagram. It's probably, that's going to be your quickest.
Perfect. Yeah. Okay. And we'll have all those in the show notes and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So this has been so wonderful. Thank you, Kyla, so much for being on today.
Yeah, my pleasure. Thank you so much. Thank you for the reading. Thank you for the insights, all of it.
It's been amazing. And listeners, thank you so much for being on today. It means so much to me to have you be a part of this world. You can drop your comments in Spotify and share with us what you're feeling after this and your Me Too moments. And remember that peace is really your superpower. Wasn't that so amazing? Oh my goodness, I came away with pages of notes and intentions that I've been feeling. And what I want you to do now is one thing, okay? I want you to either sit with the feeling that you've had during this episode. I want you to look at your notes and I want you to focus in on that one thing that you can do going forward. As human beings, we get so inspired by inspiring podcasts and speakers, and then we forget to zone in on one thing. And so I want you to focus in on that one thing that you can do moving forward. I'm going to give you just a pause because you know I like a pause, and a pause is easier to do with people. So I want you to pause and think of that one thing. Okay. The next thing I want you to do is I want you to write that one thing down, because as human beings, we always forget. I always forget too. And so I want you to write that thing down. Either put it in the notes on your phone, put it on a sticky that you'll see different places. I want you to have that so you can go back to and reflect over and over again, because these episodes aren't just for you to inspire you in the moment. They're to inspire your actions going forward in the next moments, and I'm here to back you up, and I'm so grateful you're here. One thing I would love for you to do, as we get these messages out more and more, the thing that can help this podcast, and it can help me out so much, is for you to go like and subscribe and share these episodes. It's so easy. It just takes a second, but it helps other people to find these episodes. It helps the podcast to get out there, and I so appreciate it. So if you